Hey, what's going on there, YouTubers? So, Edgeman Synergy coming to you guys here today with a deck tech, and today we are going to be doing an update for Oona, Queen of the Fae EDH. So, if you guys are unfamiliar with Oona, she is a 6-cost legendary creature, 3 generic, and 3 split blue and black hybrid. She has 5/5 power and toughness, and she has flying, and for X amount of mana and split blue or black, choose a color. Target opponent removes the top X amount of cards from his or her library from the game. For each card of the chosen color removed this way, put a 1/1 blue and black fairy rogue creature token with flying into play. So the big thing about this deck is it's fairly combo based, so you can work off of a lot of combos, do infinite mana, infinite turns, put everybody on a lock, all kind of shenanigans like that. So you can have some fun with that, but there's a lot of different ways that you can win or just set everybody back. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get Oona out as quick as possible or anything like that. But we are going to break down this deck and take a look at what all it has. One thing that I want to mention right before I start is this deck is brought to you in part by abugames.com, so please be sure to check them out down below and check out their stock of really awesome stuff, including singles and sealed products. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to be taking a look at here is the land base. So we have 33 lands. So the first one is Sunken Ruins, so our filter land, Dark Slick Shores, Drowned Catacomb, Creeping Tar Pit. We have River of Tears, Rupture Spire, Darkwater Catacombs. We have Salt Marsh, Frost Marsh, Underground River. It's an old Ice Age one. Secluded Glen. It's going to be entering untapped as well. Then we have our fetches. So we have Scalding Tarn, Misty Rainforest, and Verdant Catacombs. So the thing about these is you want to search. Whenever you crack them, you want to search for like one of your beta basic lands or beta dual lands or a shock land. But sadly, I have neither in this deck. So for you guys that actually have them, you can include them in the deck. But for me, I'm just using them to search up for basic lands, and it just kind of thins out the deck a little bit. We have Dimir Aqueduct, so providing both blue and black. Get to bounce a land back to our hand. Vivid Creek. We have Reliquary Tower, a little bit of utility, giving us no maximum hand size. Teleria West, transmute for 0 converted mana cost cards. Command Tower, providing any color of mana. Strip Mine, destroying a land, anything that's really annoying for us. Plus we can Crucible of the World, Crucible of the Worlds, and just be able to blow up our opponent's lands. If it's a 1v1, we can Death Cloud and then Crucible and keep on getting back Strip Mine and keeping our opponent at pretty much no lands. Tectonic Edge, a little bit slower than Strip Mine, but pretty much the same thing. We have Academy Ruins, so this combos off with Mindslaver. If we have enough mana, we can just, in a 1v1 scenario, put our opponent on a lock where we just keep on taking their turn. Mystifying Maze, being able to exile our opponent's attacking creatures. And then we have basics, so we're running 5 and 5, so 5 islands and then 5 swamps. So yeah, that is the mana base that we have here, and then we're going to take a look at everything else in the deck. So I'll put that off to the side here. I'll put Oona off to the side as well. Alright, so going through it first, we have our Planeswalkers, so Jace the Mind Sculptor. Awesome Planeswalker to have. This Brainstorm is probably the most useful thing out of anything of his abilities, but we can also win with his ultimate, but that doesn't happen very often. It's mainly just the Brainstorm. Jace Beleren, draw cards. We can also mill with him if we want. Tezzeret Agent of Bolas, he is a search for our artifacts in our deck, so look at the top 5 cards of our library, reveal an artifact, put it into our hand with his +1. -1, an artifact becomes a 5/5, and -4, target player loses X amount of life and we gain X amount of life, where X is twice the number of artifacts we control. It's a mainly artifact-based deck, so we can do Tezzeret's Ultimate for the win and then copy it up with Rings of Brighthearth, so that's just one of the things that we can work off of here. But Tezzeret's a good tutor. Tezzeret the Seeker, probably an even better tutor with his -X ability, searching for any artifact with converted mana cost X or less. He is a 4 loyalty, 5 cost. +1 lets us untap 2 target artifacts, and -5 lets all artifacts we control become 5/5s until the end of the turn. Then we have Liliana Vess, so another tutor for our deck, 5 loyalty, 5 cost. Sorin Markov, really annoying for EDH. A lot of people don't like him, but he's not banned, so I'm still running him. And EDH is casual, so nobody really cares too much. 4 loyalty, 6 cost. -3 makes target opponent's life total become 10, so you could imagine that a lot of people would rage about that. +2 lets us deal 2 damage, gain 2 life, and -7 lets us take target player's next turn. So nice way to manipulate what our opponent's doing and also just win easier. Then we have our tutors, so Demonic Tutor, Diabolic Revelation, letting us search for X amount of cards from our deck. It's good for building up combos that we need. Fabricate, another tutor of its own, letting us just search for artifacts though, but Fabricate's still pretty good. Trinket Mage, searching for artifact with converted mana cost 1 or less. Mystical Tutor, lets us search for instant or sorcery, put it on top of our library. Lim-Dul's Vault, so this one's kind of like a tutor on its own. You look at the top 5 cards of your library, and as many times as you want, you can pay 1 life and put those cards onto the bottom of your library, and then look at the next top 5 cards of your library, and just keep on going until you find a favorable 5. You shuffle the rest of your library, and then put the top 5 back on top in any order. It's pretty much a tutor. You basically get to search for the things that you really need. Damnation, we're getting into removal here, so Damnation, 4 cost, destroy all creatures, they can't be regenerated. Life's Finale lets us search target player's library for 3 creatures and we get to put them into his grave, but basically removal aside from that. All is Dust, destroy, or well, each player sacrifices all colored permanents he or she controls. Death Cloud, probably my favorite removal and just overall board wiping and board wrecking card. X amount of mana and 3 black. Each player loses X amount of life, discards X amount of cards, sacrifices X amount of creatures, and then sacrifices X amount of lands. So with the amount of artifacts and mana accelerating that we use in this deck, it doesn't matter if we don't have lands. We can drop Death Cloud, reset everybody to 0, and from there we basically just win because nobody can really do anything unless there's stuff like Suspend going on or anything like that. But Death Cloud is a really easy way to win in a multiplayer scenario. Then we have Crucible of Worlds, so 3 cost artifact, you can play land cards from your graveyard. It's good for Death Cloud whenever we play Death Cloud because we can still play our lands if we're a little bit short on artifacts. Gilded Lotus, getting into our mana accelerating taps for 3 mana. Everflowing Chalice, we use the multi-kicker and then it provides generic mana for us. Soul Ring, pretty plain, pretty standard in every EDH deck. Mox Diamond, we have to discard a land whenever it comes into play. Coalition Relic, taps for 1 mana of any color to our mana pool, and we can put a charge counter on it, and then at the beginning of our next pre-combat main phase, we have to remove the counter off of it and add that mana to our mana pool, and then we can furthermore tap Coalition Relic for another color of mana. Thran Dynamo, taps for 3 generic mana. Mind Stone, taps for 1 generic mana, and we can sacrifice it to draw a card. Dimir Signet, fixes a little bit, put in 1 generic mana, get out blue and black. Then we have Grim Monolith, so it is a 2 cost, and it adds 3 colorless mana to our mana pool, untaps for 4. We have Mana Vault, so 1 cost, and it taps for 3 colorless, untaps for 4 as well. And we have Basalt Monolith, so it taps for 3 mana, untaps for 3 mana. And then we have Power Artifact. So Power Artifact is an easy way to combo off and get infinite colorless mana. So you play Power Artifact on either your Basalt Monolith, your Mana Vault, or your Grim Monolith, and you basically net an infinite amount of mana, because you can, with the Mana Vault and the Grim Monolith, you tap for 3 mana, untap for 2 mana, you just keep on doing it over and over. With Basalt Monolith, it's just a little bit quicker, but you can establish shortcuts and just let people know that you're basically going infinite. Then we have Griselbrand. So Griselbrand is a really awesome way to draw in this deck. So 7 cost, or 8 cost, 7/7, 4 generic and 4 black. Flying Lifelink, pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. Easy way to just get all the things. Ristic Study, so 3 cost enchantment. Whenever a opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 1 generic mana. Brainstorm, and if you guys are interested in these altars, there's a link down below where you guys can check them out. These are really awesome altars that I have for the Brainstorms. But Brainstorm, draw 3 cards, put back 2. Visions of Beyond, if we're milling a little bit, we can get there a lot quicker with drawing more cards. But draw a card as a standard, and then if a graveyard has 20 or more cards in it, draw 3 cards instead. Phyrexian Arena, at the beginning of our upkeep, we draw a card and we lose 1 life. It's not a May ability, but it's still good. Fact or Fiction, we look at the top 5 cards and reveal the top 5 cards of our library. Opponent separates them into 2 piles. We get to keep one, the other one goes into our grave. Dire Undercurrents, so whenever a blue creature comes into play under our control, we can draw a card. Whenever a black one comes into play under our control, we can have target player discard a card. So with Oona, whenever we start milling people and getting a lot of the 1/1 black and blue Fairy Rogue creature tokens, we can play off of Dire Undercurrents and draw a whole lot and make our opponents pretty much discard all the things. Arcanis the Omnipotent, so 3/4 for 6, taps for letting us draw 3 cards, and we can also bounce them. Rings of Bright Hearth, so 3 mana artifact. Whenever we play an activated ability, if it's not a mana ability, for another 2 generic mana, we can copy that ability and choose new targets if we want. So this combos off with Planeswalker abilities, and it'll also combo off with Basalt Monolith, and because whenever we tap it for 3 mana, we can use its untap ability, and we can net 1 mana by copying it with Rings of Bright Hearth every single time. It's kind of a clunky understanding for a lot of new players how it actually works, but you basically, you're going to be copying up the untap ability, so whenever you are tapping and untapping, you're going to be tapping for 6 mana, untapping for 5, so each time you're just going to keep on getting 1 extra mana there. But that's another thing that you just want to establish shortcuts and tell your opponents, like, oh hey, I'm going for a whole lot of mana. But we have Filigree Sages, so another way to untap artifacts, 3 mana, 2 generic, 1 blue, untap target artifact, and it's pretty plain creature other than that. We have Stormtide Leviathan, so a just big bulky way to make everything a standstill. So it's an 8/8 for 8 mana, 5 generic, and 3 blue. Island Walk. All lands are islands in addition to their other types, and creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. So our Oona, all of her tokens that she makes, and Stormtide Leviathan as a just kind of a basic arrangement of creatures will all be able to attack, but most of the time it's going to promote a standstill on the board for our opponent's stuff. We have Tidespout Tyrant here, so he's a 5/5 for 8 mana, 5 generic, and 3 blue. Flying, whenever we play a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand, so we can play off of that a little bit, be able to bounce back our opponent's stuff that's bothering us. Forced Fruition, so whenever a opponent plays a spell, they have to draw 7 cards, so easy way to mill out everybody. If they want to win, they're pretty much going to have to keep on playing things unless they're just relying on their general, but For the most part, Forced Fruition gets there really easily, and you can just mill out so many people really easily. Propaganda, assuring that people don't attack you unless they want to pay a lot of mana for it. For 3 mana, we have the enchantment, 2 generic, and 1 blue. Each turn, each creature cannot attack you unless its controller pays an additional 2 mana for that creature. So kind of clunky way that it was worded back then, but basically they're going to have to pay 2 mana for each creature that's attacking. So if they don't, then they can't swing on us. We have Traumatize. So for 5 mana, 3 generic, and double blue, target player puts the top half of his or her library rounded down into his or her graveyard. Easy way just to mill, get rid of things. Bribery, 5 cost, search target opponent's library for a creature card and put it onto the battlefield under our control. We get to search their deck and take their best card. Counter spell, plain and simple, counter a spell. Spell Crumple, another counter spell that we have. Lightning Greaves, so equips for 0, casts for 2, gives the equipped creature haste and shroud, so easy way to protect the things that we have. Copy Artifact, pretty plain, we just copy an artifact for 2 mana, 1 generic and 1 blue. Along with the copying spells, we have Sculpting Steel, so comes into play as a copy of an artifact that we control, so it's pretty good depending on what we have. If we need more mana producing stuff to accelerate us along, it helps with that, but overall it's still fairly good to be able to copy things. Phyrexian Metamorph, we can copy an artifact or a creature, so we can either go for copying our own stuff or we can copy our opponent's general or something like that. Mindslaver, so the Academy of Ruins and Mindslaver combo works for us, but I don't know, there's just a lot of things that you can do. Obviously, it's a little bit worse in multiplayer, but you can still control your opponent and make them do things that they don't want to do, especially against players that they don't want to really be on the bad side of, or maybe you can just make somebody else lose, so that's always nice. But 6 to cast, 4 to play, tap, sacrifice it, and you control target player during their next turn. So it's always nice. We have an altered Divining Top, so for you guys that want to check these out and the altars, like I said, the link's down below, but we can rearrange the top 3 cards of our library and put them back into any order, and the top casts for 1, and then we can tap, draw a card, and put the top back on top of our library. So we have a combo that we can play off of this, and that is with Cloud Key. So Cloud Key, whenever it comes into play, we can choose artifact, creature, enchantment, instant, or sorcery, and whichever one we choose, spells that we play of the chosen type cost 1 less to play. So if we choose artifacts, our top is going to be 1 less, which is going to make it just 0. So we're going to be able to play it for free. And the nice thing about that is when we get into the Mages of the Future and Future Sight, so both of them have the same ability, only the Magus is an actual creature and Future Sight's an enchantment, but the Magus is a 2/3 for 5, 2 generic and 3 blue, and Future Sight is 2 generic and 3 blue, but you play with the top card of your library revealed, and you can play the top card of your library. So if we have this combo underway, which it doesn't really take much with all the tutors that we have Cloud Key, naming artifacts, or Sensei's Divining Top on the battlefield, and either Future Sight or the Magus being able to look at the top card. We can draw a card with the top and then put it back on top of our library, then put the top into play from the top of our library, and then just keep on rinsing and repeating and draw out our deck. And there's some easy ways that we can assure that we don't lose from there, but ultimately it's an easy way to get more combo pieces that we need, and we generally stop whenever we have all the stuff that we need. But as far as other combos go, Leyline of the Void, this is a pretty common one. So if a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So Leyline of the Void combos with Helm of Obedience, so 4 cost artifact, and for X amount of mana tap, put the top X amount of cards into, or target opponent puts the top X amount of cards into his or her graveyard, where he's going to mill for X amount of cards or until they reach a creature card. And the way that this combo works is Helm is going to say, all right, I'm going to keep on milling until so many cards go into a graveyard or a creature goes into the graveyard. Leyline of the Void is saying, well, nothing is going into the graveyard, everything's being exiled. So you basically mill out your opponent until they have no cards in their deck. And then with the rings, you can copy this up and win against 2 players, but more times than none, we're not going to really have the rings out there when we're trying to combo this off, but it is a really easy way to win against an opponent just outright there. All right, so we have that, and then we have Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. With him, most of the time, we are just going to be using him as a buffer so that we don't actually mill ourselves out with any of the draw combos that we have or anything like that. So whenever he hits the graveyard, we can shuffle our graveyard as well as him into our library, and that just kind of resets us from being able to lose. But if we cast him whenever he comes in, we destroy target permanent, and he has Annihilator 4. So pretty solid creature. As far as more drawing combos go, we have Temple Bell. So tap, each player draws a card, and this is getting into a really good combo for multiplayer. So we have Temple Bell and Mind Over Matter. So Mind Over Matter is a 6-cost, 2 generic, and 4 blue. Choose and discard a card, tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. So we draw a card off Temple Bell, we discard a card for Mind Over Matter, and untap Temple Bell. And we keep on doing that until we make everybody draw all of the cards that they have, and we can keep on drawing because we have Ulamog in our deck, and we can discard him and just recycle our deck and recycle our graveyard back into our deck and just keep the combo going until we win. But mainly whenever everybody sees Temple Bell and Mind Over Matter, they pretty much assume that everybody just lost the game unless somebody can outright just end it by countering something if it's on the stack still. But once both of them are in play and you get the combo going, you basically win. And then we get into another combo that we have here. So Knowledge Pool. So Knowledge Pool combos up with Teferi, Mage of Zhalfir. So the way that this works is Knowledge Pool says that Imprint, whenever it enters the battlefield, each player exiles the top 3 cards of his or her library. Whenever a player casts a spell from his or her hand, that player exiles it. Whenever that player does, they can cast another non-land card, exile with Knowledge Pool, without paying that card's mana cost. So, whenever we have Knowledge Pool and Teferi says creatures you own that aren't on the battlefield have flash, and each opponent can cast spells only anytime he or she could cast a sorcery. So, pretty much in a simple way of putting it, whenever Knowledge Pool and Teferi are out, nobody can play anything without it like actually resolving, because Knowledge Pool is going to exile that card that they're casting from their hand, and Knowledge Pool is going to attempt to let them have priority at putting something from exile back in and letting them put it on the stack. But Teferi is saying no, because the stack is not empty, you can't actually cast that spell. So basically, with this combo, the only thing that your opponent can actually play is their general, and they better hope that that general has a good ability and it's able to get rid of Teferi or Knowledge Pool, because otherwise nobody can really play anything. So that's another way to lock up the game and just win from there. And then we have Thopter Assembly and Time Thief. So this is the last combo in our deck and the last 2 cards. So this one's very simple to understand. Time Thief says sacrifice 5 artifacts, take an extra turn. And Thopter Assembly has an ability where at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control no other Thopters other than Thopter Assembly, return it to its owner's hand and put 5 1/1s onto the battlefield. 5 1/1 artifact Thopters. So we bounce back Thopter Assembly to our hand. We get 5 1/1s. We sack those 5 1/1s and use Time Thief to take an extra turn, and we just go infinite from there. So that is my Oona Queen of the Fae EDH deck. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. The entire deck list is down below where you guys can check it out. Please be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe for more Magic the Gathering videos. Please be sure to check out the altar website down below for those cool altars. And also abugames.com, because they sponsored some of the cards in this deck. So Big thanks to them as well. But until next time, guys, have a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.